Hello, good evening and welcome to the Hot Seat. In the Hot Seat today is a veteran politician, Mr. Dinesh Gunawardena, Cabinet Minister, a long-serving politician. Is it still leftist policies that you are following, Mr. Gunawardena?
No, I've been following patriotic politics. Some say I'm leftist because when they don't agree, the easiest label is to say left.
Right. But your politics is one of national politics.
National, patriotic and democratic.
And what is the future of the so-called joint opposition now that you all had this vote of no confidence against Minister of Finance, which has been comprehensively defeated? So what is the future? What does the future hold for the joint opposition?
Yeah, Mr. Farage, of course, the joint opposition did not have the majority in Parliament. That is the basic facts that were very clear to us from the beginning. So the numbers were what we had in Parliament. And we presented a resolution exposing the finance minister and his conduct and the government's financial mismanagement of the economy.
Right. So that is what you wanted to.
We were able to present the case, and for the first time, the JVP, a partner of the government to bring them into power, voted with us against the finance minister. The TNA, part of the government's formation on January 8th, abstained. Isn't that a formidable change in the scenario of Parliament of not having confidence in the finance minister? We might not have the numbers, but still.
So you feel that you all have partly achieved your objective?
Partly achieved because the government was in full session. The UNP group was meeting how to muster their members. SLAP in government was meeting how to muster.
So they took you all quite seriously?
Very much. They were put onto the wall because they knew that we had enough stuff to push them to the wall, and which we did.
Don't you think that Mahinda Rajapaksa missed an opportunity then by not being there?
Mahinda Rajapaksa, our former president, was there for the first day of the debate.
Right.
Anyhow, something went wrong. The microphones were buckled, and our debate couldn't be taken up on the first day. It never happened in any parliament of the world. Have you ever heard of Sri Lanka Parliament? Microphones failing when a no confidence motion is listed for debate on the finance minister. First time. The next day he had to go to Japan. So he was with his team preparing, almost getting ready to leave for Japan.
So had the microphones not mysteriously buckled, we may have seen the former president in Parliament?
Yeah, my former president and a few members who are not present would have been in the House, those who went with him to Japan.
We talk of many contentious things and so on. What of good governance? We have serious concern about the management of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka. What exactly is the view that the joint opposition holds on this matter?
The joint opposition was the first to raise the issue in Parliament and in public. When it happened in February, March last year, it was the 100-day government, which said they had a mandate to have good governance, democratic government, and so many things. And badly exposed by the central bank fiasco, where the bond issue came on heavy criticism. We raised the issue in Parliament, and we pushed for a resolution which was thereafter sent to the COPE, Committee on Public Enterprises, chaired by D. Gunasekara. As you know, the government was unable to face the inquiry And before the report was to be presented in Parliament, I'm just quoting the present President Maithripala Sirisena. He dissolved Parliament, and he said, I have to dissolve Parliament before this committee comes up with all these shortcomings. And he said he had advised the Prime Minister not to appoint
Mr. Mahendran?
Mr. Mahendran. And now the situation had come to a position where he took the final blow of dissolving the Parliament, thereby preventing the Gunasekara report.
So that report became non-existent then?
Non-existent report. Of course it exists, but
it couldn't even be officially filed in the library at Parliament, for example?
No, because it did not become a document of Parliament.
Right. So what is your take? Why is the Prime Minister and various ministers, why are they making statements saying that this governor will not be changed, that he will be given a new contract? So what's the indecent hurry? Why? Surely COPE is in essence the watchdog of the people via Parliament. So if COPE is looking into this matter, then why in between all this? Why is there such a hasty decision attempted at openly being commendable about Mr. Mahendran and openly supportive of him when he's under a cloud of investigation?
Yeah, it was the government's choice. I think it was Prime Minister and the major party, the UNP's choice as central bank governor, number one. And President Maithripala Sirisena appointed him for the remaining period of former Governor Cabral's resignation.
Yes, yeah.
So obviously the UNP leadership has to defend to the last whatever happens to the governor and his actions and mismanagement. It is not only political criticism. It has come from the former deputy governors of the central bank and various officials of the central bank. How inefficient or how the violations of the central bank is taking place. And this specific bond issue came to the to the exposure of how it was done, not following the norms set down in the bond purchases. So I think it went beyond political criticism to a wider field, because there's only one central bank to a country. And the trust and the confidence of a central bank is a key issue in managing the economy. And the so-called good governance has gone into disarray. As a result, we had a lot of losses and violations, which are all questioned. Now the present COPE, when it tried to go into the matter of asking the Auditor General to move in. Now Auditor General is a position of the Constitution. He has all authority to move in. He reports only to Parliament. He was blocked, and the COPE had to.
And is that illegal in your understanding?
It is illegal.
Right.
The Auditor General has authority to go into any matter,
even if it is of a sensitive nature.
Sensitive, or any even high confidential. Still, the Auditor General could go into matter.
Right.
The Auditor Generals have gone into such matters before, and I would like to recall that when the central bank, which is the pivotal financial institution of the country, the guardian of the country's financial system, when it's questioned, the authority or the deviations, mistakes of the governor. We have had former governor N.U. Jayawardena resigning and going.
Yes.
But keeping the credibility of the central bank in high esteem. We had Dr. Karunatilaka, governor of the central bank, during Mr. Premadasa's time. He resigned and went home. You know, so I don't know why this resistance. I mean, so all this inquiry. I mean, there were no inquiries on such governors in this manner, but they still gave up the position and went, because the country comes first.
On that score, we'll take a short break. Do stay tuned to the hot seat. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the hot seat, where veteran parliamentarian Mr. Dinesh Gunawardena is joining us. So, Mr. Gunawardena, the good governance is being breached when it comes to the central bank. Would that be a fair description?
I think yes, more than fair, because you see, it was January 8th, people had a lot of expectations of good governance, following the democratic path. But all that is shattered, because you could see professionals who put them into power openly coming and demanding the resignation of the governor. Forget the politicians, professionals, people who are in business, you know, Chamber of Commerce, top men of the Chamber of Commerce coming up and saying these are unbecoming of a central bank, which shows the good governance all has collapsed.
How becoming is it then of the former president to criticize the actions of this government when it comes to the bond and so on, and the central bank, and the re-awarding of contracts in the road, the highway sector, all sort of contentious matters? How becoming is it of the former president when it is he and his government, of which you were part of, who are being accused of indulging in all sorts of questionable transactions? In terms of the roads, there's a claim in the manifesto that 90% was corruption, 10% was work. We now find that it's the same company awarded the same contract for almost the same money. The Prime Minister says that they saved 30 billion rupees by stiffer negotiation of the contract. It now turns out that the savings about 8 billion. So what is going on? Why?
As far as I think what is going on is what you said. Same thing is going on if it is correct.
Right.
When the government came to power, let us take the port city. They accused the Chinese. They accused the last government, accused the Chinese government. The only project that the head of state of China came and laid the foundation.
Yeah.
Accused everyone. And now Sri Lankan president and Sri Lankan prime minister and cabinet of ministers goes to China and says, okay, start the project. Isn't that by indirectly saying, we are sorry, we took a wrong decision? When it comes to the other projects that have been listed under Chinese projects today, water projects, highway projects, all going back to the same Chinese contractors. So how can you say that their first position that they took when they come to power, and the allegations they made in the former government in order to come to power has no basis? They are doing the same thing.
They're doing the same thing.
Same thing. Handing over to the same people, or wanting to do much more.
So is it the same wine in a different bottle?
I won't say the same wine. In order to come to power, they said so many things.
How ethical is that? How ethical is that?
Ethically, it's difficult to fathom what ethically.
But you went royal.
I went to royal.
Right. and so did the Prime Minister go to Royal.
Yeah,
Surely in your time you had a lesson in ethics.
very much. And we
Was the Prime Minister present, do you think, as far as you can recall, at these ethics classes?
very much. Prime Minister and all of us, so many royalists in the cabinet.
We all attended these ethics classes.
We always said, disque out, disque di. No, learn your lessons or depart.
So,
do it in the proper
so
way.
it appears to me, as a layman, that neither are lessons being learnt as far as the central bank is concerned, and nor are they departing.
Very
Both.
much, very much.
What would
Central
you,
bank has become a big crisis for the government. It has become a political crisis. It has become a financial crisis for the country. Because we are in a crisis today. However much the government is trying to cover up, we are in a serious financial crisis. I mean, by announcing that we have got 1.5 billion from the IMF, subject to so many conditions,
Yes.
in 6 installments.
as
It's
far
not
as
just
you
a
know,
check.
what are some of those conditions?
Conditions are very clear, that we have to increase our revenue, the state revenue, and in order to increase state revenue, VAT has been brought in bigger form. So many other taxes are to be brought in, which is going to cause cost of living issues to the people, general running of trade and industry will be very costly for Sri Lankans, and the virtual collapse of some of the industries will take place. Then on the other hand, speedy privatization of state enterprises has been recommended.
Are you for that?
I'm not for that. Sri Lanka should develop independent, much more creative economic model.
Are you in favor of any of these de facto conditions of the IMF?
You see, the IMF conditions should be announced and laid before Parliament. We've asked the government, even in the last no confidence motion, we demanded the finance minister to present the IMF conditions. The country is ruled.
And what's been the answer?
No, they have not obliged Parliament.
Okay. Have they said no yet, or
They
yes?
have not said yes. They are dodging because it's so serious, the conditions. We know the conditions the IMF laid on Spain, Portugal, and on Greece. So if the similar conditions are laid on Sri Lanka, we're going to have a very, very tough time. Very tough time.
On that note, we'll take a short break and come right back to the hot seat with Mr. Dinesh Gunawardena. Hello, good evening, and welcome back to the hot seat, where this evening we have our guest, Mr. Dinesh Gunawardena, a veteran politician. Mr. Gunawardena, Sri Lanka's democracy is so robust and vibrant, so much so that we have sent a team to the home of democracy, to London, England. What are these, I think 4 or 5 parliamentarians, what are they doing there? Helping Mr. Cameron?
That is what has been announced. It has never happened before. Officially, and no government representative goes and participates in an election process in any other country. It had never happened. This is the first time that we get some of our ministers and a former parliamentarian participating in the British issue of the referendum. Britain is divided. Britain is divided. So which side are we going to take?
So what are the 4 or 5 people doing? Are they meant to go and convince the British public that they should not leave the European Union?
I have my doubts whether they would be able to convince the British public when they themselves couldn't get a majority in the Sri Lankan election.
So what are they doing?
They are of course supporting the Conservative, their friendly alliance. That's all.
That's all.
That's all.
And who do you think is paying for all this?
It's a question that should be gone into. Who's paying? Who's giving the necessary support, the facility?
There are plenty of other why questions. Who is doing whatever? Many of them. For example, why is there so much of opposition to the stewardship of Mr. Mahendran in the central bank, at the central bank? Why is there so many people petitioning and talking about that? Why are so many people talking about the high cost of living? Why are so many people talking about the taxes and so on, and how the taxes are being revised every now and then? It seems to be that this is all very ad hoc, disappointing for a government that came in to power under good governance. So what do you say to all these activities? What can you do about it?
No, the government came to power on false promises. It's very clear. Because they couldn't deliver any of its pledges to the people. Number one. Secondly, they have misjudged the economic situation that Sri Lanka was in and the international economic situation. So obviously the government has to roll back its own budget today. When they presented a budget in November, and they start rolling back the budget, which shows that the entire economy, as you say, they are only taking ad hoc moves, not having an overall move where the economy could be stable, political stability could come. You know, they have postponed local government elections for the entire country. The local government is our grassroots democracy.
Why is that? Is that because there's a real need?
Yeah, they can't face the public. They can't face the people. Otherwise, the local government elections were due for the last so many months, and they are finding excuses to postpone. The ratepayer. The ratepayer is the citizen of the country paying rates. He has every right to be represented in the councils. So overall, all these ad hoc moves are taken just to see how they could go on.
Or is it just to test the waters, to see how much they can get away with?
They are getting away with. If not for the joint opposition's challenge on them, they wouldn't have had any challenge in Parliament and outside. The mammoth rally we held at Hyde Park, Colombo, and the May Day was the biggest headache they had. And the joint opposition's 50 plus MPs standing up for the people of the people's issues is a big challenge on the government.
So do you profoundly believe that the people who voted for the national consensus government, do you think that the people at large are dissatisfied with their performance thus far?
I think I agree with you, Faraz, because those organizations who openly supported the new government to come to office are openly critical of them now. It has every day they are coming out and criticizing the government for their actions and their failure to keep to the promises. You know, if we take the Constitutional Council, that itself has become a farce, sorry to say. It's become a farce. They have one set of principles to select the Attorney General, then they have different set of principles to select the IGP. How can you, people who have kept their, trust in them, all lost their trust?
There's some suggestion that that the government may look at taking some of the functions that are integrated within the central bank and remove them into a separate unit. Does this warrant, are there systemic problems at the central bank that need such drastic action, or is this an action designed to protect one man or more persons?
Yeah, I think it's to protect one man or more persons, and how to pursue the goal what they have been planning. For instance, if they are trying to take the EPF and the funds of the EPF out of the central bank's management, that is one area where they are wanting EPF funds to be put to the financial markets for the government's programs. Now, EPF in any other country is managed very carefully. What is the government trying to do? Are they going to amend the Central Bank Act? It is an act of parliament. They just can't draw like that. Here we have today a central bank coming under the Prime Minister.
Yeah.
Finance Minister is without the central bank. And every currency note is signed by the Finance Minister and the Governor of the central bank.
Who is?
Isn't that a total chaotic situation the government is dragging the central bank into?
Or is it the other way around, that the central bank is dragging the government into this?
No, intentionally it is with the government's consensus that this is happening. The central bank itself can't act because it comes under authority, comes under the Prime Minister today, while the President has the right to reappoint or remove the Governor of the central bank. So all are divided. It never happened so. Never happened so in our country.
Last and final question. When you, as I mean the joint opposition, at what point will you be forming the next government?
The present government is losing control and trust in the economy and the political stability of the country. It is not very far, I would say, that they would get into an economic crisis that they will have to go.
And at which point?
The joint opposition will
emerge like the phoenix?
Yeah, the joint opposition has members not only in the opposition, we have members in the government.
My goodness me, that sounds like politics in Sri Lanka. Mr. Gunawardena, just before we come to the conclusion part of our program, how did you fare with the trouble when the Koskama camp blew up? Damage to your property?
Yeah, it damaged my property and damaged the properties of all the villages of our village.
And unfortunate, of course.
Very unfortunate, and the whole responsibility lies in the government. It is not a natural disaster, it is a man-made disaster for which the government is responsible because the army comes under the government. So the people have to be compensated.
They have announced that they will be compensated.
So many announcements have been made, but movement is very slow.
No doubt you'll come on our program another time and tell us the progress that is making.
Very much.
In the meantime, thank you very much, Mr. Gunawardena, for being in the hot seat.
Thank you.
Thank you, and look forward to seeing you again. Thank you for watching the hot seat. We'll see you same time, same place next week.